Hello everyone, sorry for the very long break. Happy New Year. So far what we've done is that we've learned how to take body measurements and we've also drafted our basic body pattern. I'll be putting the link of those videos in the description. In this video we'll be practicing straight stitching, and in our next video we'll be doing a test fit of our body pattern. So let's go on. All you need is 4 brown paper, and the measurements should be 12 times 12 inches or 30 times 30 centimeters. So you need 4 of that, but I'll be doing all on just 1 brown paper, but you need 4 of that. So what we'll be practicing is stitches with 2/8 seam allowance, also stitches with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, stitches with 1 inch seam allowance, and then stitches with 1.5 seam allowance. So on your first brown paper you are going to draw lines with 1.5 inch interval. So you can use your ruler to guide you if you have this kind of ruler. So once your ruler is on the edge of the brown paper, you can draw your 1.5 inch as demonstrated on the first brown paper, but I will be doing all those on just 1 brown paper. So on the next brown paper you are going to draw straight lines with an interval of 1 inch. So again, you can use your ruler to guide you by making sure that you use 2 boxes to draw it, and make sure that you use your tape measure to verify at the end. And on the third brown paper you're going to draw straight lines with an interval of 1/2 inch. So again, your ruler can help you. 1 box gives you 1/2 inch, so if you use that you get your 1/2 inch, but then make sure that you verify that it's accurate. So you will draw on that on your third paper. Now finally on your fourth paper you're going to draw straight lines with an interval of 1/4 inch, that is 2/8. So you are going to do as I'm doing in the video, and you're going to draw that on your fourth paper. Like I said at the beginning, I will be doing all that on just 1 brown paper, but you as a beginner, you need to have 1 brown paper for each of the different stitch intervals. Now once you're done with that, you go on your machine and you're going to sew on the drawn lines. So your first brown paper you're going to sew your 1.5 inch stitches. As a beginner, you need to take your time to sew on the drawn lines. You may not get it right at the beginning, but as and when you go on, you become better and better. So you have to sew slowly so that if you are drifting from the line, you can quickly adjust and go back on the line. So once you're done with your 1.5 inch stitches, you can move on to your 1 inch stitches. Apologies for all the sound in the background. So you just have to take your time and do it right. And it will definitely take time for you to become good at it. Practice makes one perfect, so you need to practice more and more to be able to sew straight. And the lines you drew are supposed to guide you so that you sew straight, so you become comfortable enough to sew without lines. So once you're done with your 1-inch stitches, you can move on to your 1/2-inch stitches. Now the smaller the interval, the harder I believe it is to get it straight. So as a beginner, it's going to take you a longer time to practice all this. Definitely, you can do it within a few minutes. And remember, I'm also doing all that on just one brown paper. But you, on the other hand, you have 4 brown papers. You have one that have just 1.5-inch stitches, and then you have one that has the 1-inch, and then you have one that has the 1/2-inch, and then finally the last one that has the 1/4-inch. So this video is just to show you how to go about it. But you have 4 brown papers instead of one that I have in this video that I'm using it to do for all. So once you're done with your 1/2-inch stitches, you can now move on to your 1/4-inch stitches. Now if it will need more brown papers to practice, you need to do that. If after the 1 brown paper per each stitch intervals, you need more, you should go ahead and repeat the same thing again so you get comfortable. Definitely you can't become perfect, but you need to get comfortable enough. You need to at the end be able to quickly adjust when you realize that you are going off the line. That's what you should be able to assimilate at the end of it, that the moment you realize that you are going off, you are able to quickly adjust and go back and sew on the lines. Once you get that from this exercise, becoming perfect at straight stitching will come eventually the more you sew on with fabrics, of course. But this is just to get you comfortable with using the machine and comfortable with sewing, not becoming perfect, but becoming comfortable. So once you're done with your last stitches, you're going to test yourself a bit. So what you're going to do is that you're going to take the edge. You can take a 5th brown paper, or you can take a fabric. Then, but first of all, you need to take note of the guidelines on the sewing machine. So if you have an electric machine like mine, you can see that there are some guidelines. Now the interval between these lines is actually 1/8 inch. That's the interval between each line. So from your needle up to the last line is actually 1 inch. And so if you want to sew, depending on whatever it is you want to sew, once it's between that 1 inch, you can use those guidelines to help you. So if you want to sew a to 8, you have to make sure that the edge of your fabric or paper aligns with the edge of the footer, as in the video. Once you do that and you're able to adjust and make sure that it's always aligned, you're going to get your to 8 stitch seam allowance. Now when you want to sew half-inch allowance, you're going to make sure that the edge of your fabric or paper aligns with the second guideline on the machine. That is, if you are using an electric machine, it may be different from the manual machine, but you need to check. You need to use your tape measure to check the intervals between the lines that is on the manual machine. Now when you want to sew 1 inch, make sure that the edge of your fabric aligns with the last guideline that is on the machine. That's what is going to give you 1 inch seam allowance when you sew. So once you get comfortable with the lines, you can move on to doing this to test yourself. Okay, now I'm done. Since I did everything on one brown paper, I have 3 lines with 1.5 inch interval, and then another 3 stitches with 1 inch interval, and then another 3 stitches with ½ inch interval, and then 3 stitches with ¼ inch interval. Then I have my test stitches. So from the edge of the fabric, I have ¼ inch stitch, and then from the edge of the paper, another ½ inch stitch, then from the edge 1 inch stitch, and I also did the last one, which was 1.5 inch stitch. So thanks for watching. We are done, so you can practice that till our next video, and then in our next video we'll be doing the test fit. So you need to have a gray baft for that. Once you have the gray baft, we do our test stitch and we continue from there. Our test fit, so we continue from there. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.